The 1960s were a golden age of automotive innovation, and Australia was right at the forefront, creating cars so advanced they still impress today. But here's something you might not know. One Aussie concept car from this era had features that wouldn't become mainstream for another 30 years. During this decade, Australian manufacturers weren't just keeping up with the competition, they were outpacing it. From futuristic designs to groundbreaking performance, these cars proved Australia was a serious player in the global automotive scene, setting trends rather than following them. But what made these vehicles ahead of their time? And why do they still turn heads today? Get ready to discover the hidden gems of Australian car history, machines that changed the game, left a lasting legacy, and continue to inspire car lovers worldwide. Let's take a look at the most iconic cars of the era. Car number 1, the Valiant R-Series. The 1962 Valiant R-Series was a game-changer for the Australian automotive market. At a time when most local cars were simple and conservative, Chrysler introduced a sedan that looked like it came from the future. With bold styling, a powerful engine, and features rarely seen in Australian cars, the Valiant R-Series made an immediate impact. One of its most remarkable aspects was the 225 cubic inch, 3.7-liter, slant-six engine. Unlike most engines that sat upright, this one was tilted at a 30-degree angle, allowing for a lower hood line, better aerodynamics, and improved weight distribution. With 145 horsepower, it was one of the most powerful six-cylinder engines in the Australian market at the time, eclipsing competitors like the Holden EK and Ford Falcon. It wasn't just quick, it was also smooth and reliable, making it a favorite among drivers looking for both power and practicality. But it wasn't just about power. The R-Series came with a push-button automatic transmission, a futuristic feature that made shifting gears effortless. Instead of a traditional gear lever, drivers selected gears with dash-mounted buttons, something seen more in American luxury cars than in Australian sedans. It also featured 14-inch wheels, larger than standard for the era, improving ride comfort and handling, making it more stable at higher speeds. The styling of the R-Series was equally ahead of its time. Its sweeping body lines, curved grille, and aggressive stance made it stand out in a crowd of boxy designs. The cabin was also modern, featuring a deep-dish steering wheel for safety and a stylish instrument cluster that resembled a jet cockpit. The car had a presence unlike anything else on Australian roads at the time, and people took notice. Chrysler Australia knew they had something special, but demand far exceeded supply. Only 1,008 units of the R-Series were produced, making it one of the rarest early Valiants. The model was quickly succeeded by the S-Series, which retained many of the R-Series innovations while refining its rough edges, making it even more appealing. Today, the Valiant R-Series remains a sought-after classic, admired for its bold engineering and impact on Australian car culture. It proved that Aussie motorists were ready for power, style, and innovation, setting the stage for even greater automotive advancements. But Chrysler wasn't the only one pushing the limits of design. Around the same time, Holden unveiled a car so futuristic, it looked like it belonged in a sci-fi movie. Up next, we explore the Holden Hurricane concept, a car that predicted the future decades ahead of its time. Car number 2, the Holden Hurricane concept. If the Valiant R-Series was a bold step forward, then the Holden Hurricane concept was a leap into the future. Unveiled in 1969, this low-slung, wedge-shaped marvel looked more like a spaceship than a car. At a time when most vehicles were boxy and conventional, Holden's experimental creation shattered expectations. introducing features that wouldn't become mainstream for decades. The Hurricane wasn't just about radical styling, it was a technological masterpiece. One of its most futuristic features was the electronic digital display, a concept unheard of at the time, but now standard in modern vehicles. Instead of traditional gauges, the Hurricane featured a digital readout providing critical driving information. This was decades ahead of what production cars would offer. Another groundbreaking feature was its rear-view camera system. Today, backup cameras are mandatory in many countries, but in 1969, they were pure science fiction. The Hurricane replaced traditional mirrors with a closed-circuit television camera, feeding live footage to a dashboard monitor, offering a glimpse into the future of automotive safety. The Hurricane also had an automated climate control system, a luxury most production cars wouldn't offer until much later. But perhaps its most dramatic feature was keyless entry and automatic doors. Instead of conventional doors, the entire roof lifted up electrically, allowing passengers to enter in a futuristic, almost cinematic fashion. This design made getting in and out of the car feel like stepping into a spacecraft. Underneath its futuristic body, the Hurricane packed a 4.2-liter V8 engine, giving it serious performance credentials. Holden designed it as a research and development vehicle rather than a production model, so it never saw public roads. However, its innovations served as a blueprint for future automotive advancements. Despite its radical design, the Hurricane wasn't just a concept left to history. In 2006, Holden painstakingly restored the original prototype to its former glory, proving how important this vehicle was in shaping the company's vision for the future. The restoration allowed a new generation to appreciate just how ahead of its time this car truly was. The Holden Hurricane remains one of the most visionary concept cars ever built, not just in Australia, but globally. It was a statement that Australian engineers could dream big and push boundaries just as much as their international counterparts. But Holden wasn't done innovating. Up next, we explore another Aussie icon that dominated the roads and left an indelible mark: the legendary Chrysler Valiant Charger. Car number 3, the Chrysler Valiant Charger. By the early 1970s, the Australian muscle car scene was heating up, and Chrysler wanted in on the action. Enter the Chrysler Valiant Charger, a car that wouldn't just compete with the Ford Falcon GT and Holden Monaro. It would carve out its own legendary status. Released in 1971, the Charger was an instant hit, thanks to its aggressive styling, powerful engine options, and unbeatable performance-to-price ratio. The Charger stood out immediately with its sleek, fastback design, flared wheel arches, and bold racing stripes. It wasn't just about looks. This was a muscle car built for serious performance. Under the hood, Chrysler offered a range of engines, but the star of the lineup was the 265 cubic-inch Hemi 6 engine. With triple Weber carburetors, the E49 version of the Charger became the fastest six-cylinder production car in the world at the time, capable of a 14.4 second quarter mile, a time that could embarrass some V8s. Inside, the Charger's cockpit had a sporty, driver-focused layout. A full instrument cluster, bucket seats, and a center console gave it a race-ready feel. The E38 and E49 Chargers, tuned for performance, came with a 4-speed manual transmission, upgraded suspension, and wider tires for better grip. Chrysler engineers designed the Charger with weight distribution in mind, ensuring it had the balance needed to handle high-speed corners smoothly. But what really cemented the Charger's reputation was its success on the racetrack. The RT road track versions dominated Australian touring car racing, with their combination of power and handling making them formidable opponents. The E49 Charger, in particular, was a beast. Its 302 horsepower made it one of the most potent six-cylinder muscle cars of its era. Despite its success, the Charger's reign was cut short. The 1973 oil crisis and increasing government regulations put muscle cars under pressure. Chrysler scaled back performance models, and by the late 70s, the golden age of Aussie muscle cars was fading. Production of the Charger ended in 1978, but its legacy lived on. Today, the Chrysler Valiant Charger is one of the most collectible Australian muscle cars, with enthusiasts appreciating its unique place in history. It remains a symbol of an era when Australian manufacturers weren't afraid to build cars that truly pushed the limits. But while muscle cars ruled the streets, another vehicle quietly revolutionized performance sedans. Up next, we take a look at the Ford Falcon XR-GT, the car that kickstarted the Australian high-performance sedan revolution. Car number 4, the Ford Falcon XR-GT. In 1967, Australia's high-performance sedan revolution officially began with the launch of the Ford Falcon XR-GT. It wasn't just another family sedan. It was a race-bred muscle car built for the streets. This was the car that gave birth to Australia's muscle sedan era, proving that you didn't need a two-door coupe to go fast. At first glance, the XR-GT didn't look radically different from a standard Falcon. But under the hood, it packed a 289 cubic inch, 4.7-liter Windsor 5.8, producing 225 horsepower, a serious jump from the Falcon's regular lineup. Paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and improved suspension, the XR-GT was tuned for both performance and handling. Ford wanted a car that could dominate on the road and the track, and they got exactly that. One of the defining moments for the XR-GT came in 1967 at the Bathurst 500, Australia's most famous endurance race. Against expectations, the XR-GT won the event outright, proving that a 4-door sedan could take on the best in motorsport. This victory cemented Ford's reputation in Australian racing and set the stage for a new breed of high-performance family cars. The XR-GT wasn't just fast, it was practical. Unlike traditional muscle cars, it had a comfortable interior, seating for 5, and a large trunk, making it an ideal choice for car enthusiasts who needed a daily driver that could also hit the racetrack on weekends. It was available only in GT Gold, giving it a distinctive presence on the road. Ford produced only 596 units, making the XR-GT a rare and highly sought-after collector's car today. Its combination of power, practicality, and racing pedigree made it an instant classic. But more importantly, it paved the way for legendary Falcon GT models, like the XWG THO Phase 1 and the XYG THO Phase 3, which pushed Australian muscle cars to even greater heights. The XR-GT proved that Australia could produce world-class performance sedans. It was a game-changer that ignited decades of fierce rivalry between Ford and Holden, one that would define Australian motorsport history. Even today, the Falcon XR-GT is remembered as a car that changed Australian performance cars forever, a legend in muscle sedan history, admired by car enthusiasts worldwide. But Ford wasn't done yet. Up next, we take a look at the conclusion, where we reflect on these groundbreaking 1960s Aussie cars and their lasting impact on automotive history. These cars became icons of Australian engineering, setting the stage for future classics like the GT Falcons and Holden Monaros. Today, they remain highly sought-after collectibles, proving their legacy still thrives. Which of these 1960s Aussie legends impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible automotive content.